Hi, this is Bob from Scrappy Mania, and today I got these angle brushes by Amazon. They were very economical, and the reason I got these angle brushes is to use with my either pastels, my chalk. You can also use it with your ink, and when you have those layer dies, or I mean the layer stencils, sometimes there's some little tiny areas in your layer stencil that you want to just really be precise, and this helps. So I saw some of these. They were pretty expensive on Simon Says Stamp and other scrapbooking stores, so I decided to try out the ones from Amazon. Now I don't have the more expensive ones because I try not to buy those. I always try to find a cheaper alternative. So I'm checking these out to see how good they are for this, and then I'm going to use it for ink. So I'll get some inks and then we'll do this one with the ink and see how well it works. Okay, and then so far I like it. It's actually working very well. And I got the angle one, so these have a little angle. And what I was wanting to, the reason why I got the angle ones is because for one, they were cheaper than the other ones. But you got less. So the flat ones were $2 more, but you get 12. This one you got 9 for 10 something. And I might end up getting the flat ones, but right now I wanted to try the angle ones because I figured with the angle ones, I can either use it flat, or let's say I want to put some color, I can put it on my point, and maybe I just want color at the edges here. So I'm going to pick up this color, this violet color, and maybe I just want to do a shadow like so. And it works pretty good. Look at that. It's really, I'm just putting on the tip, and see, you can see a nice shadow. So let's put another shadow here. And right over here, so right here, so I'm gonna see if you can see that. I'm just using the tip, and I don't know if you can do the same thing with the flat ones, but these make it easier to kind of go at an angle and really put color like at the edges there. And that's what I'm doing here. I always try to get alternative tools. So when I see a tool being advertised by an influencer, I try to get an alternative for tools, especially, you know, trying to get a cheaper version of the tool. And I like these because they have different sizes. And look at that. That looks pretty nice. You can see a little shading there. For this flower, let's go ahead and try to make, let's do red. So this one's going to have, I'm going to start with orange for my base. And look how nice it's actually putting down the color. And you don't, you know, even though I have a lot of different tips, you can just use your microfiber rag, you clean it, and you can still use it. You don't have to buy a lot of these. And I like the angle. These are really nice to really get precise. And it's acting like a watercolor. So this one is watercolor, so it's acting like a watercolor brush. Because you can get right on the edges here. And it's very precise, so I do like these. I might end up getting the flat ones. I may want to review the flat ones compared to the angle. If you can only get one, which one you get. But at the price point that I found these, you can get both of them. They were not that expensive. Look how pretty that's looking. And actually I picked up a little bit of this yellow instead of this straight orange. and it's very precise. So I imagine that this tool will be excellent for your layer stencils, because some layer stencils have really tiny spaces, and using those big brushes or even a dauber may be too big for the stencil, for the little area that you want to shade. So now I'm picking up some of the darker color, and then I'm going to bring it in here and kind of shade it. Look at that. Really looks good. And you know, I don't use my pastels as much, or my chalk. I need to start using my chalk more often, because look at that. That's really pretty. It's coming out very nice. Now, these are the non-smear pastels. I got this a long time on QVC. It was called a Stencil collection. It came with a little brush, pink brush, is somewhere around here. And it was advertised when I bought it, because you can shade your black and white pictures. So if you printed some pictures on black and white, these you can give it a little sepia tone shade, or you can even color the clothes and stuff like that. Like you can color the clothes here on a black and white picture. I never did it, but that's why one of the reasons I got it, because they advertise that it's non-smearing once you lay it down, and you can use it for photos. And I had these probably over 10 years. I have a lot of stuff in my craft room that I bought way back when QVC was actually active and doing crafting events. And I still have them. Though what I'm doing is I'm going through my stuff and seeing if I'm going to reuse it. So this I'm going to keep, but if I see other things that I'm not using, because I need to pare down my craft room, because I'm planning to move my craft room out of the garage, and it's going in a bedroom, and my bedroom is about 10 feet by 12 where it's going. My garage, whereas in the garage is bigger than that, is bigger than the bedroom. So I need to really pare down what I'm going to put there, because I don't want to make a messy room. If you've seen videos on my latest update on the die cutting machine, so I have a video in where I show you my room and how I craft. There's a lot of stuff in here, and I really don't want to bring all this stuff up to my new room, because there's no need to do that, especially if I'm not using it. So that's why I'm starting to evaluate the products that I have, and I am starting to get rid of things that I don't see a use for, and just donate it or give it to somebody that's starting to do craft. Just give it to somebody that may make use of it more than what I'm doing. Okay, so this is one of the products I'm going to keep, because I do like it. I have a lot of colors, and look how pretty that's looking. Really looking really nice. So one of the things, if you're not getting enough out of your pastel, so like when you scrape on it, you're not really getting much on your brush, what you need to do is something sharp. Just scrape it a little bit, like so. And then now, see, you're going to get a lot of that dust. See how it, now you got a lot more. Look at that. Okay. Okay, so I like that. Now let's see how we can do these little ones here. So I'm going to grab this smaller one. Let me see if we have a smaller than that one. Nope, these are about the same size. And I'm going to start with the tip. So it's on the angle. And I'm just going to use the tip of this brush and look really precise, just like if you were using a paintbrush. Look how precise that is. Really, really good. And then I'm going to go ahead and go with a little darker one and just pretty good. Okay. So now go back to this green and I'm going to just color this leaf. And see, there's not a lot of color coming out, so what you do, you scrape it and pick that up, and now look at all the color that comes out. You can get cheaper sets of pastels, and I do have it, and Michael's or even Joann's fabrics. But if you get the cheaper pastels, you know it's not permanent. This one is non-smearing, so once you lay it down and you blow on it, okay, you can go over, let me clean my hands. So you can go over, let's use this. So there's nothing here, and see, they advertise that you can go over it. There are some smearing, but basically it stays on, so maybe it does smear. But they advertise that it's not smearing, but look, it's permanent. It's not gonna come off. And actually what you can do is you can go over it with a paper towel like I did and just get the excess off. The other thing that you can also do is using fixidant. So I do have a fixidant spray that I use when I'm using chalk on my projects or anything that, or watercolor. So like if you watercolor a project like this, if I want it to not react with water, you can spray it with fixidant. Some people use hairspray. I got fixidant. And then also this thing that I purchased called microglaze. So this microglaze, it's like Vaseline. And you can use this and go over like so. And that will also make your watercolor die cut or whatever flower you did. It makes it that it's resist water, so it won't react with water. You're gonna have to let it sit on it, and then you go over with a cloth. So you can take a cloth and just take the excess off. And now if you put water on this, it won't react. So that's another thing that you can use, microglaze. And I can do the same thing with this. I can put some microglaze if I want to. That was my version from Tim Holtz. Tim Holtz had a similar product, and I found that microglaze on Amazon. And I use it every once in a while, but I also use fixidant. It depends what I have right handy when I'm completing my project. So whatever is next to me, that's what I use. But see how nice that looks? Now we're going to do these. And just go over it with the tip. And you get better precision with the tip. Okay. And that's how I do like these. So I finished this, and the advantage of using pastels, your chalks, versus watercolor, it's watercolor, you get better results if it's watercolor paper. And a lot of times we want to stamp on our cardstock and not use watercolor paper. Then this will give you the look of watercolor, you know, but without warping the paper. So this is nice and flat. And notice this one, it's a little warp You know, it's not laying flat. This one lays completely flat. So better for your cards. So now let's look and see how this works if we decide to use ink. So let me go ahead and put these away. Oh, and before we put it away, so let's go ahead and put, get the excess off, okay? And then the other thing, this one had micro glaze. Let's go ahead and remove all the micro glaze. And then this makes it watercolor, so water resistant. So see, if I take this brush, I just dipped it in water. See, it's wet, right? You see that it's wet. And then I will just put it here and see how it beads up. I hope you can see that beading. It beads up and it does not gonna move. It doesn't move the color at all. It won't move it because of the microglaze. Well, let's see if, I know I'm giving a lot of products, but if you are using watercolor, it's a good idea to know what will seal it. Microglaze seals it. The other thing you can use is this Fixident. And I'm going to spray it to the side. Okay. So when you spray it, the color does get a little more intense. And you need it, when you use that, it's really strong. So you probably need a nice open ventilation. And see how it wets your paper a little bit, but it doesn't warp it. Okay, and then we're going to do the test with our water brush. Make sure it doesn't move. So here's water. And it does seep into the paper. As you can see, it did seep in. And look at that. So it doesn't make it water resistant when you do the Fixidant. It just doesn't move it just adheres the powder on your project. So that is wet. So hopefully that will lighten up when it dries. So it doesn't make it water resistant. This is water resistant when you do the microglaze. Okay, so I'm using some distressing inks here. I'm not going to use these. I'll probably reserve these for powder when I'm using my my pastels. And so let me get the other two small ones. So I am going to use yellow. I may need to because I don't have enough of the small tips, so I may need to use it. But I'm going to go ahead and pick up some color. And look, it works pretty nice. And then you just clean the excess off, like so. And let's get this one. This is a little bigger. And I'm going to use that for my petals. And my ink pads, these ink pads are not as juicy as it should be. I bought this a long time ago, and I hardly re-ink it. I do have all the colors to re-ink it, so I can re-ink these. I like the, you know, comparing. I like the look of the powder of my pastels, actually. So I actually, with the inks, I don't like the ink as much as I do like using my pastels. It does look good. It's just some of the ink, it looks less blended. Like you can see those flowers. It looks more painterly than blended, like how it showed up when I used my pastels. But it still looked good. So if you like that look, it does look good. And I do like these brushes. They're really nice for this fine detail putting ink or even putting powder, it really works well. And I do like the angle. As you can see there, I'm putting some shadows at the base of those petals. And now I'm doing the leaves, and I like how it blends, but it's a little less blendy, is more painterly than it is when you use the powder. The powder is, I think, is softer and it's nicer, but either one works well. So there, and then let's see if you can put it. So I have green, but I'm using my microfiber to see if I can get rid of all that ink and then go here. Yeah, it's not transferring, see? So you can go ahead and use this. Even though you see that it's green, you can easily use it for another color. So I'm going to do the same thing with, this had Anna Griffin, and Anna Griffin uses a pigment ink. These are watercolor ink, so they're more dye inks, I believe. Yeah, see? You can easily use it with other colors. That as well here. Now let's look at these. These are the powder, my pastel. So see, it doesn't transfer. They do get stained, but it doesn't transfer, so you can use these for any ink. And eventually they're gonna get black color, because as they get stained with the different colors, if you don't keep this for greens and you start using reds and purples and browns and stuff, it's going to eventually get black. So, but if you want to keep them separate, you can easily keep them. Right now I have 2 reds, so I can switch one to blue and one to purple, and then I can use them for anything, even for the pastels. I can easily use these. So they wipe up pretty clean, as you can see. You see a little bit, but not much. So here is my 3. So this is watercolor. I went ahead and added that microglaze, so it's waterproof. This is the one that I did with my pastels. I love this one. Put in the comment which one you like best. I really like how this came out, and it blended so nicely. I just love this one. I think I need to use my pastels more. And then this is with my inks. It's okay, but it's more blotchy, as you can see. It does have that paintery look, so it'll look good in a card. Any of these will look great in a card. It's just more splotchy. And then for watercolor, if you wanted to make it permanent, I recommend that you use a microglaze like this, because these are distressing inks. Now if you use permanent ink, you don't have to worry about this, but these are the Tim Holt inks. And actually this microglaze is what Tim Holt recommended when you're using his inks and you want the project to not react with water anymore. So he recommended this. You don't have that issue with oxides. Oxides, once it dries. It's not going to react. You can layer them pretty good. But that's not the case with these. Okay. And then what you do is you go over it with a cloth or a towel. And there. Now this piece is water resistant. It won't react with water. You're good. So I hope you like this video. Like the brushes. I'll put the link if you want to see these brushes. I am going to get the ones that are not angled and compare those with these. See if it makes a big difference having an angle versus no angle, having it flat. But the angle did help get into the little edges. So I hope you like this video, and thank you for watching. Bye now.